Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Chesterton's Jest, where we keep a critical eye on faith and culture, especially within the Catholic Church today. In an age where even church teachings seem to be shifting, we're here to explore and question the ideas and changes that challenge timeless truths. Through thought-provoking, often humorous perspectives, we aim to bring clarity to conversations others might avoid, holding fast to orthodoxy with the courage to question what feels off track. If you would like to join us as we dig deeper into the faith with reverence, wit, and a touch of Chestertonian insight, you can support this channel by gently pressing the like, share, and subscribe buttons in that order, and we thank you for your support. And now, without further ado, the Church can't fail, so why does it look like this? Chapter 1. The word that refuses to die. There are words which modern man tolerates and words which he fears. Indefectible is one of the latter, not because it is obscure, but because it is stubborn. It refuses to bend to headlines, hashtags, or hysterics. It is the sort of word that stands in the rain while the rest of the vocabulary runs for cover. The Church is indefectible, not impressive, not always admirable, not always well-governed in the eyes of men, but indefectible. That is to say, she cannot fail in her essential mission. She cannot cease to be what Christ made her. She cannot teach error as truth in matters of faith and morals. She cannot vanish, even if she appears to evaporate. In 2026, this word is not merely theological, it is medicinal. Chapter 2. A body that can bleed without dying. Modern Catholics are scandalized by something that would not have surprised the apostles in the least, that the Church can appear weak, divided, even compromised. But weakness is not death. The Church is not indefectible because her members are impeccable. If that were the standard, she would have died in the Passion of Christ, when her first pope denied her founder, and the rest fled into the night like startled chickens. Yet it was precisely there, on the cross, that her indefectibility was most visible. For indefectibility does not mean the absence of crisis. It means the impossibility of annihilation. The Church can be humiliated, but she cannot be nullified. Chapter 3. The confusion of the crowd. In our present age, confusion has become a kind of counterfeit authority. If enough voices shout in contradiction, people begin to assume that contradiction itself is a sign of depth. But the Church's indefectibility is not measured by clarity in every statement, nor by perfection in every shepherd, nor by the absence of scandal. It is measured by something far more stubborn: continuity. The same faith that was preached by St. Peter is still preached today. The same Eucharist is still confected. The same moral law still binds. Even when men attempt to obscure it, soften it, or reinterpret it into oblivion, the Church does not lose it, because she cannot. Chapter 4. The temptation of the two extremes. There are two great temptations in times like these. The first is despair, to look upon confusion, ambiguity, or even corruption, and conclude that the Church herself has failed. The second is delusion, to pretend that nothing is wrong, that every development is organic, that every novelty is a flower rather than a weed. Both are errors. The man who says the Church has defected denies Christ. The man who says there is no crisis denies reality. The Catholic must walk a narrow road, to see clearly and yet believe firmly, to acknowledge that men in the Church can err, even gravely, without concluding that the Church herself has ceased to be the pillar and foundation of truth. Chapter 5. The difference between the office and the occupant. A king may be wicked without abolishing the monarchy. A judge may be corrupt without destroying the law. So, too, a pope may be ambiguous, imprudent, or even scandalous in certain acts, without destroying the papacy. Indefectibility does not mean that every pope is a saint, nor that every decision is wise, nor that every document is beyond criticism in its prudential application. It means something far more precise and far more powerful, that the Church, as Church, cannot formally bind the faithful to error in faith or morals. This is why the gates of hell do not prevail, not because they do not attack, but because they cannot conquer. Chapter 6. The Long Game of God. Modern man judges everything by immediacy. He expects resolution within the news cycle, clarity within the comment section, and reform within a decade. God, on the other hand, thinks in centuries. The Church has survived emperors, heresies, antipopes, corrupt clergy, collapsing civilizations, and revolutions both bloody and bureaucratic. She has been declared dead more times than a villain in a cheap horror film. And yet here she stands. In 2026, the Church may appear fragmented, fatigued, or even internally conflicted. But appearances are the favorite disguise of false conclusions. The Church is not a trend, she is a fact. Chapter 7. The Cross as the Final Proof. If one wishes to understand indefectibility, one must stop looking at Rome for a moment and look instead at Golgotha. There the Church was reduced to almost nothing, a dying man, a grieving mother, a frightened disciple. If one had judged by appearances, one would have declared the mission a failure, and yet it was there, precisely there, that the victory was won. The Church in 2026 may feel at times like Good Friday, but Good Friday is not the end of the story. It is the proof that the story cannot end in defeat. Chapter 8. What it means for you. To believe in the indefectibility of the Church in 2026 is not to close one's eyes. It is to open them wider. It is to recognize that confusion does not equal collapse, that scandal does not equal surrender, that weakness does not equal death. It is to remain, not because everything is perfect, but because Christ is faithful, and Christ does not abandon his bride. Chapter 9. The Indestructible Thing. In the end, the Church's indefectibility is not a compliment to her members. It is a confession about her founder. Christ did not build a fragile institution that depends upon the competence of modern men. He built something far more unsettling, a church that can survive us. And in 2026, that may be the most comforting and the most humbling truth of all. If you like this video diatribe and found it informative and entertaining, please support us with a like and a share. It helps the algorithm. As G.K. Chesterton said, angels can fly because they take themselves lightly. Thanks for listening. God bless you, and may the good Lord be praised.